Welcome to the FanDuel quarterback analysis for Week 10. I'm Jason Gilbo at JGilbo11. With me is Spencer Limback at Spencer_JL. You took a look at cash game and GPP quarterbacks for this week, and we're on a lot of the same guys. And we'll kind of kick things off with an expensive one, but Aaron Rodgers has been rolling in hot.
Yeah, and I think you can fit him in. There's enough value at wide receiver spots. You can go cheap at tight end again this week and just make room for him because he's been that good as of late. Even last week, he really didn't do that great. I mean, the Packers ended up losing that game. He really wasn't that efficient, but still churned out a good 25 fantasy points, really beat value, and put you ahead of the pack in that regard. So no pun intended there. But, I mean, I really like him again this week. Obviously, the Packers there, they don't have much of a running game. They really don't have running backs on the roster anymore, so all the production goes through Rodgers there. And to make matters even better for fantasy purposes, the Titans are kind of a funneling defense where they load up against the run, very good in that regard, and then they kind of let their production go through the air. So everything sets up well for Rodgers for another high-scoring week.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. And you look at Tennessee, I mean, over those first couple of weeks of the season, they didn't really play anyone good in terms of a pass offense. And they have over the last few weeks, and they've been really susceptible in that regard. So I'm with you. I think Rodgers is kind of an easy pay-up option.
Right.
Dak Prescott, you're looking at 7,700 on the road at the Steelers. In terms of consistency, I mean, he's been one of the better quarterbacks.
Right, and the Steelers, kind of like you said just before with the Titans, they were pretty good to begin the season. Against lesser competition, against the pass, that is. And then as of late, they've just gotten picked apart, seemingly by everyone. So I think that the fact that they're ranked 11th against the pass is a little bit skewed, and this defense has a lot less talent than that ranking suggests. So I think this is another spot where Dak Prescott can keep rolling, and you consider that offensive line, how huge it's been for Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott's success. I think that's just going to continue. And, you know, this could kind of be a back-and-forth sneaky shootout potential. I know the Steelers haven't been good in recent weeks, but they're back at home. They've been much better there lately. You have to think Ben Roethlisberger is just going to be healthier. There's a chance that offense can get going. And then the Cowboys kind of have to counter that quick strike attack and leading to more opportunities for Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott. So you always love the rushing upside as well. I really think Dak is a safe play in cash games and usable in tournaments for that rushing upside also.
Yeah, I definitely do too. And if you're looking at kind of a value aspect of quarterbacks this week, Prescott's kind of the one in cash games. GPP quarterbacks, you're looking to make a little swerve for a little bit more price, 7,900. Carson Palmer, not the most consistent guy, but gets a great matchup here.
Right, and I think everyone's going to be on David Johnson this week, and it's hard to really fault that strategy because the 49ers ranked dead last against the run, have given up some monster rushing performances in the last few weeks. And David Johnson, arguably the best running back in all of NFL right now. So it all makes sense. It all adds up for him. But, you know, Carson Palmer could get his in this matchup too. It really comes down to what plays are called in the red zone. And we've seen it before where he throws a 2-yard touchdown pass to Larry Fitzgerald instead of handing it off to David Johnson. I mean, that could be the case again this week. We don't really know. And it's kind of just a nice little leverage move because you know the Cardinals are going to get their red zone opportunities. You know they're going to move the ball well. So maybe those touchdowns go to Palmer. He could even throw it to Johnson. He could go 30, 40 yards on a screen pass. So I really like the leverage play here in large field tournaments.
It's not expensive. I mean, Larry Fitzgerald's only 7,200 this week if you want to pair, and then J.J. Nelson came up last week. He's seen targets over the last two. I mean, it's really not an expensive stack to kind of pivot away from Johnson.
Yeah, you can make it work, and I mean, you can get on some other guys in the process too and kind of have a nice little sneaky stack there.
Yeah, definitely. Cam Newton, you're looking at 7,800. In terms of ownership, I mean, I have to say Cam Newton's probably going to be one of the lowest owned quarterbacks of the week.
Yeah, I'm hoping everyone forgot about him because, you know, he had that bye week. He was great against New Orleans. He had the bye week, and then he had two tough matchups that he was kind of mediocre in. And now he's back at home. He's typically performed much better there over the past few seasons. Against the Chiefs defense that I feel is a bit overrated, They really beat up on the little guy, the Blake Bortles of the world, the Ryan Fitzpatricks at home, and then they go on the road and they face, like, say, Ben Roethlisberger earlier this season. They were torn up by Drew Brees. That game was at home, but against some of the elite competition, elite quarterbacks in this league, they haven't looked good at all. They're kind of a hit or miss defense in that regard. So that really kind of bolsters some upside for Cam Newton in this matchup. A good spot for him to get it right. And we always know he has that, inherent upside with the rushing touchdowns, everything like that. So that's all kind of built in. His salary's reduced because of the past few weeks in tough matchups. And now he has kind of, I guess I would call it, an underrated matchup here, a likely lower ownership percentage. It just sets up as a nice leverage play.
Yeah, I mean, there seems to be a lot of quarterbacks jumbled around that 7,700 range because Big Ben's in there also Palmer, Prescott, and then Marcus Mariota, who you listed here as the value play, 7,400. I mean, he's been playing really well over the last 5 weeks.
Right, he tweaked his ankle last week, but they said he should be ready to practice and be kind of full health for Sunday. So something to keep an eye on in case there is a setback there, just something to be aware of. Maybe he doesn't run the ball as much, but if he's fully healthy, I'm thinking he'll just, do his usual thing out there, which comes with a lot of upside, Cam Newton-like upside, I guess you could say. In this Packers defense, I mean, they've gotten in a shootout in recent weeks, and that's kind of a little bit tied to the way they're running their offense, or lack of running in their offense, I should say, where they're just chucking the ball all over the place, scoring quickly or incomplete passes, stopping the clock, more possessions for both teams, and really kind of creating that shootout-like atmosphere that Mariota could fall into here. It helps that this game's at home against, that Packers defense has some injuries in the secondary still, so I think it's kind of a beatable secondary. They're another one of those funnel defenses where they load up against the run. They're very good against the run. Maybe they can take DeMarco Murray away, lead to more of that production funneling through Mariota. So it kind of sets up well. I think he's a value play that can be used in both tournaments and cash games if you need the value there. So, I kind of like it in all formats.
And you look at last week, I mean, it was kind of frustrating. I mean, if you used Andrew Luck, you had 2 red zone touchdowns to Frank Gore. I mean, they moved the ball quite a bit, especially through the air. It just didn't really pan out in terms of touchdowns. This week, I think, they will be definitely looking to focus in on Murray, and that kind of puts, as you mentioned, pretty much everything on Mariota's shoulders.
Right, and they pass in the red zone too. I mean, dump passes to Murray and everything. We've seen that this season. So, I mean, you can predict the opportunities. You can't always predict the results in fantasy football or fantasy any sport, really. And so I think Mariota's going to get the opportunity here. Whether it pans out to the box score, we don't know. But, I mean, you just kind of go where you know the volume's going to be, and that's Mariota in this matchup.
Yeah, definitely. And you touched on a couple of guys in the intro, Phillip Rivers, Matt Ryan. Do you want to give just a quick glimpse here before we head out?
Yeah, obviously like all of them. I was tempted to put Matt Ryan in the GPP discussion, but I think it's really hard to get away from Aaron Rodgers when you're paying up in that similar price range. Even in GPPs where Rodgers will probably have a higher ownership rate. If I was going to be sneaky, I'd rather take some savings, invest in some upside elsewhere. So that's why I'm preferring Carson Palmer or Cam Newton in the GPP discussion there. But I'm not going to discount Matt Ryan. Phillip Rivers, a lot of that production's been going to Melvin Gordon lately, but I mean, a Phillip Rivers blow-up could be around the corner. He's a lot better at home this season. I like the matchup there. He's not one to ignore, certainly if you're making multiple tournament lineups.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that Miami secondary is certainly suspect. So I'm with you on all these plays. Really, cash games, I mean, it seems pretty simple. We'll just kind of review Aaron Rodgers, Prescott. You're looking at Carson Palmer, Cam Newton, and GPPs, and then Mariota in all formats.
Yeah.
So let's wrap things up with the FanDuel quarterback analysis for Week 10. And be sure to head on over to dailyfantasycafe.com, check out the great tools and content.